it's all going on this way. Okay, we'll start with the prayers and Radha Madhav, and then we'll go into the class. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Thira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada,
Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol.
Ila Prabhupada ki jai, Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Namaskritam
Naranchaiva Narottamam
Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jaimudirahet
Tato Jayamudire
Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Tatvayeshva Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Shloke
Nir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 4, text number 5, in relation to Sri Narada Muni's appearance. Dushtvanu yantam drishim atmajam api nagnam devayorya paridhadur na sutasya chitram tadvikshaya prachati munau jagatastavasti stri pumbidha natu sutasya vivikta drishtyahe. Translation. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son. Beautiful young damsels were bathing naked, covered their bodies with clothes, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they do not they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Purport. Why is doing this? A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on the learned and gentle Brahmana, a Chandala dog eater, a dog, a cow, due to his spiritual vision. Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or a female. He saw all living entities in different dresses. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor. Just as by looking at a child, one can understand how innocent he is. Sukadeva Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also. So were the ladies. But because Sukadeva Goswami was transcendental to sex relationship, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualifications, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed away, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his grandchildren, children or grandchildren's, but yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom, because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and a female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinctions is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Sukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither a male or a female. The outward dress is made of the matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaptantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapatakamanam Shri Guru Maishravamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sagrana Oganatanitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Vishnu Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagrana Lalita Shri Vichakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatde Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhan Sute Devi Paramanyari Priya Vancha Kalpataru Vyasta Kapasande Vyavacha Paditanam Pavanabhya Vaishnabhya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vedadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Namaham Vishwadaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vicharani Vishesha Shunyani Vasyata Deshadarani Mukam Karati Vacham Pangalangata Giret Patam Vande Shri Guru Nintani Pamandamadam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nirachalam Nivasaya Nitya Paramatmane Varavadra Shubhadabhyam Jagannatha Itayin Maha. Hare Krishna. This is chapter 4, text number 5 of the Canto 1. It very elaborately explains this, that while Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels were bathing naked, covered their body with clothes, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female, but the sage made such distinction. Thank you all for joining for the Sunday morning program, and also especially the Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's always a privilege because Krishna is very kind to us. He is giving himself in this beautiful literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Amala Puran. So we have to focus, we have to hear as much as we can in order to understand the Lord's glories and Lord's devotees' glories. So Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the words of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, his great associate devotees like Suta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, costlessly showering their glances and blessings on us to perfect our lives just simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So this chapter fundamentally is going to talk about the appearance of Sri Narada, right? Narada Rishi is a transcendental spaceman. So what does it mean? That you will actually know a lot deeper about Narada Rishi, he being the spiritual master to some very exalted devotees in the entire cosmos. So he is a direct representative of the Lord, Shakti Avesh Avatar. The Lord had empowered him elaborately. So coming back to this particular verse, we have to understand many things in different segments. Let's try to elucidate it and understand it in a segmental part. So if you can notice, we are discussing this verse and the purport in elaboration, because from the last verse we understand that a conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they are differently engaged and their attentions is always alert either in the sense enjoyment segment or in the self-realization segment. The conditioned soul is completely absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is actually being explained here in this particular verse. One time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was talking to many people in a Bhagavatam class. So he just put a question across to one of his few god brothers who were sitting. So he asked, please define Krishna consciousness in one word. Well, that's pretty challenging because you have to be really fast-paced, fast-reacting. You have to give a correct expression or a word or a presentation. So it's not that easy. For someone to say, if I put the same question to all of you here, so you will come out with many answers, or maybe a sentence, or even a word which may probably be not the right word for elucidating what Krishna consciousness in single word. One devotee came out and said, absorption in Krishna is the word he said. So here we can literally see that Shukadeva Goswami was completely liberated. He was completely absorbed in Brahman realization, oblivious to the externals. In the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada explains that, right? 5th chapter, 18th verse. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gaviyastine sunicheva supakecha pandita samadarshina. So the humble sage, by the virtue of true knowledge, he can actually have a very clear vision. It's an equally distributed vision that he can see a learned or a brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog eater, all in the same state. There is no variations, ups and downs. He sees in that on the same platform. How can someone see? Only when they are able to understand it, right? That we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. So it is said that the learned sage was able to completely deep dive into that fundamental aspect of what a human endurance is, human's level of understanding is, right? Srila Vyasadeva, when he was actually passing, right? He was passing. Before he passed, Shukadeva Goswami just left, and immediately Vyasadeva ran behind him, calling, "Oh, my son." Because here you can see a father and a son. The difference is so sharp. The ladies who were there in the river or in the lake were definitely grandchildren or children of Vyasadeva, because Vyasadeva was very, very exalted. He is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, but he is playing a role of a householder. But the way in which he was presenting it is that Shukadeva Goswami was completely not bothered about what is that, whether there is any discrimination whatsoever. Prabhupada explains it very beautifully here that one should therefore need to attempt to know the distinction between the body and the soul without any attachment to the designation of whether one is a male or a female. So this is a very, very statement which is very, very powerfully charged here, right? We as householders have this distinction of identifying good to bad, right to wrong, male and a female, based on many variations of circumstances, time and places. But otherwise, Prabhupada says that you cannot be called as a householder because we need to learn the art of discrimination. We have to grow up in the ladder, right? From brahmacharya to grihastha to vanaprastha to sannyasi. That's the ladder growth. But here is a statement Prabhupada explains that an householder should make that differentiation. Otherwise, he is not fit to be called an householder also. So one should therefore attempt to understand the distinction between the body and the soul. Prabhupada was asked this question sometime back. When he was in either in San Francisco or New York, he was in the airport. One of the reporters was a very prominent person. So he asked this question, Swamiji, why are other people falling at your feet? They are all falling like sticks. Because when everyone sees Prabhupada, automatically in the airport, they would say Jai Srila Prabhupada and then pay obeisances and say his pranam mantras, right? So in the airport, this question was asked by the reporter, and there are a few others also who are just watching for Prabhupada's answer. We can apparently see that this reporter was a bit envious, not bit more envious than anyone else, that someone is taking the self-aggrandization. Someone is taking someone else's authority, right? Someone is falling at your feet means that that person is an authority and you are his simple, humble servant. So then he asked this question, and then everyone was waiting for Prabhupada's answer. Prabhupada said, because I don't discriminate and find a distinction between a male and a female. But that is why that term is called a Goswami, a person who has controlled completely his senses. In a room of Prabhupada, continue to say that in a room of 100 naked women, I won't get agitated or disturbed, but you will. So then that makes the entire situation very heavy. That is Prabhupada for us. Prabhupada was a pure devotee coming from the spiritual realm, explaining the treatise of Krishna consciousness completely to the common man who are completely deranged with the mind and completely being mentally taken away from the spiritual practice. Maya aprayita jnanam. This jnanam, this knowledge has been stolen by Maya. Asuram bhava ashritaha. That's the thought we are all having in different flavors. At least Prabhupada says that theoretically, one must be convinced that the living entity is neither a male or a female. It's just the outward dress, which is just a matter of sequence or put it in a place by the mother nature. It's basically a material substance, Panchabhuta, right? The Panchabhutas are earth, water, fire, and air and ether. So that's been combined together in different formats, different compositions, and sequenced in such a manner that it attracts the opposite sex so that you can get completely entangled, completely binded in this material existence eternally. However, a liberated soul is completely above from all this kind of distinction. He is not bothered about who are you. You can see practically in the spiritual masters, right? They don't differentiate. If you see, Narada Rishi is a spiritual master, but he had disciples of different bodies. He had a hunter, he had a snake, he had a rat, he had a king, he had a princess, he had a prince, many of his disciples. He had a sage, Vyasadeva himself is a disciple of Narada Rishi. So here is the state where we need to understand it at least. Prabhupada explains, at least theoretically understand it. So practical level, we will see it later, because practically it is the state which is going to come sometime in our life. Definitely it will come, it should come as we practice, as we progress our path of Krishna consciousness, practice of spiritual enlivenment. When we continuously chant the holy names of the Lord, when we continuously think about the Lord, always see how you can serve the Lord the best of your abilities, and automatically that distinction will cease to be. We will not bother too much about this kind of an external situations. So Prabhupada says that as you continue to chant your holy names, and more you chant, more connection you become to connect to Krishna, then these kind of lusty thoughts, this kind of desiring thoughts to enjoy this material nature just cease to be. So we will start realizing it when the Lord wants us to, when the Lord decides that we are pure, or at least clearing our stages, so that he can open the doors for us to understand the higher taste of life. That is very, very essential. So the perfection of this kind of a spiritual vision is what you call it as a liberated state, right? Shukadeva Goswami was already there in that state, nothing to worry about it. But his father also was in that state. He was also in the transcendental state. Of course, end of the day, he saw the literary incarnation of the Supreme Person of Godhead. But however, he was acting himself to be in the householder's life. Hence, he was not showing himself as a liberated soul, just a matter of custom. He was just following and practicing. And you can see it fundamentally here. That's the main reason that the ladies who are just having a bath could completely understand the mindset of Shukadeva Goswami and could understand the mindset of Srila Vyasadeva. So here we can take three important takeaways. One is, we should never even contemplate to make a distinction of right to wrong in our own judgmental manner. We should refer to the Shastra. So Shastras are the point of our contention. We need to look at from the eyes of the scriptures. The eyes of the scriptures are very essential for us to progress, because it is said that Sadhu, Shastra and Guru are the three tenets of our practice. We should refer anything. If you see there is a discrimination or a distinction, or you find that there is some way or the other, I need to understand whether it's right or wrong, because these kind of situations do come to our lives on a regular basis. These kind of questions just throw up like as if suddenly it comes out, and you will not even know whether you are able to take it in the right spirit or in the wrong spirit. Sometimes you will see that, Prabhuji, you're not supposed to eat anything from outside. The best option is to, cook yourself, or you bring it from your home, offer it to Krishna, and then take. But this devotee would be in the high street distributing flyers or distributing Srila Prabhupada books, and he would be extremely tired and hungry, and then you would say, let me go and have some bananas, or let me go and have some water or some juice. At that point of time, you'd be wondering, what is this? This, he's telling himself as a devotee, he's distributing books and all that, and then, but still he is not bothered about it. He's just going and eating some chips and biscuits and all that, whatnot. So we refer to the Shastras, we refer to the Guru, we refer to the scriptures, and that gives us the practitioner's views that what is right for you may be a wrong for other person. What is wrong for the person may be right for you, but you should see from the eyes of the scriptures. So here the differentiation done by the ladies were from the eyes of the scriptures. That's one thing. The second thing, what we need to understand it also, that we cannot imitate the exalted Vaishnavas, exalted devotees at any point of time. You cannot just do that as if, just like Shukadeva Goswami was just born from the womb of mother Satyavati, and she just went off. He just went off. So he did not bother. So we cannot do all those kind of things. This is all what you call is our kind of dramas. It is not a right path of Krishna conscious progress. but we take them as a greatest examples, exemplary examples of how you should practice your Krishna consciousness without any discrimination in whatsoever manner. This is a challenge. Sometimes it's a very big challenge for us. It happens in our own household that, sometimes the children should say that, you would say that, right? Hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. 100 times don'ts than saying do this, right? Oh, don't touch that, don't pick that, don't do that, don't put the TV, don't put this on, that one. But when it comes to you doing it, and you would only do that. So what do you expect your children to do? So then obviously they will follow what you are doing. So then they will come out and staringly ask this question exactly when someone else has come into your house. The moment that person comes into your house and they'll say, Daddy, you said that you should not watch TV to me, but what are you doing? Right? So they will put that question in that manner that we get shocked. Hey, don't worry about all this. You go to the room, what are you doing? Go and sit and read. Why are you wasting your time here? The elders are talking as if it's a big thing. So Prabhupada once said the same in story. He said in Mayapur, in the initial days, they used to cultivate sugarcane. So the first lot of sugarcane came in. It was just the harvest was just done. So they had dumped all the sugarcane in one corner. So what they were doing is that they used to cut it and segment it and then make it into jaggery and then offer it to Radha Mother. So before that part, so when Prabhupada was, and this was way back early in the early 60s, late 60s and early 70s. So they had kept all the sugarcane in one corner. And then one small boy, he just saw the sugarcane. Natural in India, if you find a sugarcane, what they'll do, they'll take one small bit of sugarcane and then they keep chewing it. And they will not bother about it also. They keep chewing it and then they chew. After it becomes Begasi, they just throw it in the corner and then they walk off. So that's what they do. And so the father saw Prabhupada walking and coming. Prabhupada was on a morning walk. So the father of the son was, father and the son were there. The son was eating. The father was saying, hey, I have told you so many times not to eat this here. Why are you? Just when Prabhupada was very near and he could hear so. So then Prabhupada said, don't try to fool me. I know that you are a rascal and you are telling your son that he is doing it wrong. So that it's not his fact. He is not at fault. You are at fault. You should have shown him how to do things. So in the same way, this is second thing. We cannot imitate these great exalted devotees. We just have to simply pass, simply take their words and take their considerations into our practice. And that becomes our guiding path. That's the second. The final takeaway in this particular verse is that never read a verse as an individual contributor. In the sense that if this is one of the very important verses, by the way. This references is shown up in many places. So Prabhupada also explains that, the differentiation which the ladies did because of the special blessings by the Supreme Lord, they could clearly identify what is right, what is wrong, who is the person, what is his mindset, simply by the costless grace of the Supreme Lord empowered on them. So here is a special case that never read a verse exclusively only for that particular thing. Read a verse which is one previous to it, read the verse one next to it. Then you will have a sequence of understanding of what this exact context is being talked about and how this is being specially presented. Like, for example, I started the class by saying that what did we discuss in the fourth shloka and why we are actually discussing the fifth shloka in relation to the fourth shloka. So in that manner, what happens is that the sequence is understood, the elucidation or the elaboration of this particular verse is always have a reference to the previous verse. So then in that manner, you will be able to understand it that, oh, this is the reason why the ladies could make the differentiation. They could understand it. Who Srila Sukadeva Goswami is, who Srila Vyasadeva is, and then the variation between them, even though both were in the transcendental state. So these are the main three important subject thoughts which we need to understand it in this particular verse. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, these kind of information keeps cropping up very often. In some places, this is detailed in a very elaborated manner. In some places, it is not elaborated, but it's just given it as a reference. But however, as a matter of practice and matter of understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, when you actually divide it into a very lower level of understanding, that is, you go deeper into the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will notice that the variations for a particular subject matter is given to us for understanding it in a much easier fashion. Otherwise, Srimad Bhagavatam was not considered for a common people like us. It was only meant for a very elaboratedly, highly skilled, highly knowledged sages. This was actually spoken in the forest, not in a city, right? In the forest of Naimisharanya, all these discussions were happening, where there were thousands and thousands of sages and rishis who are actually focused. It's not a city education. It's not a college education. That's one of the main reasons Srila Prabhupada said that no institution or no university is there in this world which can actually teach us the difference between the body and the soul. So this information is actually costlessly given to us by the sages who are all Trikala Jnanis, who could see the past, present, and future, and were able to express completely the thought process for the Kali Yuga people, because we are all Kali Yuga rejects. Even the Kali Yuga cannot accept us as a part of the Kali Yuga, because even the sages who were there, these were the earliest part of this Kali Yuga time. So they were so intelligent. The questions asked by them were all one compressed into the Srimad Bhagavatam text. So in that manner, we are very, very fortunate to have this kind of information which is coming to us through the costless grace of Srila Prabhupada, still getting the same information to us. So variations do happen, and that is something which we need to absorb it as and when, based on the past verse, the current verse, and the next verse. Okay, I'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, comments, clarifications, that would be great.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was really very deep class, and the lessons, 3 lessons you told us are so important. And it'll make us understand more of the verses in future as well, because, taking the reference from the previous verse and next verse will
Yes,
be really important.
it acts for Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, anything for that matter. Never refer to a single verse. Refer to the past one, the next one, and the future, current one.
Yeah. And it explains, the different way of looking at the scenario as well. Like, as you mentioned, that if you have understood the previous verse, we can understand this verse and why the ladies saw them to it differently. But yeah, that's so important.
Because this is, I don't know whether some of you may have been in a village kind of villages in India. These kind of situations are very normal. Like, the very elderly person walking, running behind a young person or something like that. The ladies would have gone for the river to take their bath. This is a very natural setting. This is not an unnatural setting. So, but nevertheless, you can see that these ladies were not normal ladies. They are extraordinary and exalted. First of all, to get the darshan of the Supreme Lord itself is the greatest benefit, right? Only few people can get that kind of a benefit, or it's a blessing for them, right? They were able to interact with Vyasadeva, who is the Lord himself and who is the literary incarnation. So the Lord doesn't come and talk to you and me, in front. He is always Yagnair Sankirtana Prayare Janti Sumedasaha. So he will be with only his parshads, right? He is not going to be talking to you and me. And of course, if the Lord comes here and then stands and talk to you, probably you and me will understand, okay, which drama party is coming from. So because we will not accept him as the Lord himself as he is, right? Because we don't have that vision, we don't have the thoughts, because it's highly difficult. our thought process, our constitutional mindset or mind move is at this point of time not so strong to accept things from the eyes of the scriptures. So we refer there more. That's the idea.
Anyone has got any questions? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Dhanupra.
Yes, Prabhu. Krishna.
Good point I took. Like normally you said don't. Then do is the best one. Start with the positive test cases.
Yes. Start positive test cases. You may probably find some negative test cases out of it.
Yeah, that's nice telling. So that
yeah, it's a natural phenomena, right? We all like to do that, right? We always say, don't do this 100, don't do this to the children's, but we do all the 100 ourselves. So then what's the point? You are a hypocrite. That's what it means. That you don't want your children to do, but you want to do it yourself. So that's not going to help. They are not going to follow you. If you're not practicing yourself, then you're not going to, and it's not just for you alone. When I say it's going to be for me, for all the parents here, right? You as a representative of Srila Prabhupada has to explain this and express this to the others. Lord Chaitanya says that I am only one single gardener, but I need many millions of gardeners. Then what happens? They can go and cultivate people, cultivate that message of Godhead. This is extremely important for all of us to understand, because otherwise we are not trying to bring the best in the children. We live for our children. What is the point in living for our children? To bring them as demons in the society? No. We want devotees in the society. We want people who are very, very shrewd in understanding the concepts of Krishna consciousness. The children should sit in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. When Prabhupada was giving a Bhagavatam class, there were a few ladies who used to have the children, but the children were crying. Prabhupada said, mothers, take care of the children. Then they will not make noise. So then one of the sannyasis said, no more Matajis with children in the Bhagavatam class. And Prabhupada said, no, they have to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. They will all sit here, but the mothers will take care. So when the Bhagavatam class is happening, or Bhagavad Gita class is happening, the children, even though they may not understand it, because this science is not material science, it is a spiritual science. It doesn't come from this realm, right? Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana, because it comes from the spiritual realm. So this information is just going directly into their heart, and that forms a revolution. Later in their period of time, where they become young enough to understand many concepts, they will relish Srimad Bhagavatam. The parents should encourage all the children to sit for the Bhagavatam class. It's very important. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you. It's a very good point. Yeah. All the parents.
Yes.
For me, thank you.
Charity begins at home. You start first then.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Anything else? Otherwise, Mataji, over to you.
Okay. Anyone has a question? Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Oh, okay. Go on.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, you were talking a little bit just now about like children and future generation. I was a bit thinking like having a teacher's background. Yeah, I was a bit thinking like, I don't know, it's a little bit sometimes concerns me. Maybe it's not my business exactly, but like a bit sometimes like I'm thinking how like our children's, like how they can see different types of stuff, what's going on and happening, especially in London, all those like people hardly almost naked going in the street. How should be the attitude of devotees, like how we should, because sometimes I even one time, I don't know, like Penny or someone like, oh, why is she naked? I was like, I don't know what to say even. It's a little bit like I was embarrassed myself, like how to explain this to children. Sometimes it's a bit sorry for this kind of question, but like how to, what should be the attitude? Sorry,
Attitude towards what? I am still not clear about your question.
I don't know,
Be
like
precise.
how we should keep the children in this kind of Kali Yuga stuff, like how to make them, like, because everyone else is doing what they want. But then how we can say this to children, like to devotees children, you shouldn't be doing that, or like.
That is a very famous philosopher. He used to explain this as yatomat topat, means whatever ways which you are thinking of, whatever path you wanted to take, you take it as you want, and everything leads to Rome. So in the same way, you do what you want, I will do what I want. End of the day, we all go to Rome. The same way you will reach God, but that won't ever care, because you will have to show yourself as an exemplary example. So that is why devotees are not bothered about what's happening around them, but they are more bothered about what is happening inside them. We don't give value to the hair. We give value to the matter inside the hair. So Shastras explain this, that devotees are the showcasing examples to the world around the entire cosmos. They are the examples. They are the, you go to this Oxford Road, you have a lot of big shops, big mirrors and glasses. They have some kind of a mannequins. They dress very nicely, the mannequin, so that the people get attracted. They come closer, see that mannequin and say, oh, how beautiful this is. Oh, so that means these kind of products are there in this shop. Oh, okay, let me go inside and see. Right? So they are showcasing. So the devotees have to be like that. They have to be exemplary. And they have to learn the art of understanding it from the eyes of the scriptures. And they should practice in a very regular fashion. They can practice with the devotees, not alone. Prabhupada explains this. These are very essential, fundamentals. Sainsbury basics, Waitrose essentials. You have to be with the devotees. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Hoy. Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. You will learn the concepts of bhakti only with the devotees. You have to go to Mathuravas, means holy places. You have to go with the devotees, not alone. When you go there, and you will inquire from the sadhus, from the devotees who are practicing, understanding the different pastimes of the Lord, then you become more exemplary. You are going to read the scriptures from the eyes of the scriptures. Srila Prabhupada has given us so many wonderful books. This itself is not enough to complete in one lifetime. Million lifetimes we have to take to just read a few verses. So we have to spend some time understanding Srila Prabhupada books, understanding the message of Godhead, and finally chanting the holy name of the Lord with earnest craving that, Lord, there is no transformation happening in my heart. There is no revolution happening in my heart. The product is still the same as it is. Just like you buy a book, oh, this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, and you go and keep in the shelf and close the door. You say, do you have Bhagavad Gita with you? Yes, we have. Do you read Bhagavad Gita? No, it is kept in the shelf very nicely. We do puja as it is. So that means you are not reading. You are only keeping it. Then how can that be a revolution in your heart? So if you become a perfect example or attempting to be a good example, forget about the outside world. Even in our own families, those who are not at this point of time conducive to accept Krishna consciousness will start accepting it. So then when they see that you are an example in the best of your abilities, if you show it, automatically the word of mouth will go to another person. The other person will also understand it. Okay, this is happening. This person is practicing, and we can see a change in their life. What this person was 5 years old, now he is 15 years old, how it is. I'll give you an example of our own congregation. There was one Mataji sometime back. She was a part of this congregation. This Mataji's families are hunters. They are hunters by profession. And they were so precise hunters that the government used to call them if they have to hunt for some specific kind of an animal and only their family, because they were so specialized. You can imagine a person who is a hunter. Here in the Ramayana was written by a hunter, right? It was not written by one Mr. Oxford or a Cambridge graduate. It was written by a hunter. So you can see that the transformation of that hunter, right? Now that devotee, the person who took up to Krishna consciousness in a more stronger manner, is initiated, is a second initiated person, and the family is more conducive to accept the message of Godhead. So in the same way, if we become a small instrument in Krishna's hands, Krishna will guide us to the right thing, to the right people, and also to express that details to others. Why are we conducting so many Rath Yatras? We are all happy in our own house, but this is showcasing Krishna consciousness to the best of our ability to the people around the world who are completely vacuumed in their heart. They are looking for some kind of input that they can progress in their path of journey towards the next goal. That's why we are going out of our way, out of our comfort zone. We are praying, craving that, okay, Krishna, please help us, that we showcase this Krishna consciousness to the people around the world. 600 people chanted Harinam, one round of chanting Hare Krishna in Reading Rath Yatra. First time in their life. They never knew what the holy name is. But there are 600 people who did a round parikrama around the Lord and chanted. 600 people. How much Prabhupada will be pleased? How much Lord Jagannath will be pleased? That these 600 people have been newly opened bank accounts. So every one of us here are a simple, humble instrument in bringing that pleasure to the Lord and to his dear devotee, Srila Prabhupada. So that is why we need to try to do as much as we can try to do is good for us. We are only a small instrument, but Krishna is very, very happy with that small effort which we are trying to do. But let's do it. That's the idea behind all this. Okay.
Thank you so much. Hare
Stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Go Premanande Hari Go. Next week we have Saturday we have a Newbury Rath Yatra. So those who are who are anyway planning to come, they are almost welcome to come. But if in case, if you have a chance, if you want to call your friends or relatives who are in nearby around, so you can inform them. So in terms of Bhagavatam for next week, we will most likely not have, but Sukha Mataji or Bhakti Mataji will inform all of us. Right? Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavatam ki jai. Over to you.